And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, the defining deliverance. With just 2 verses, God reorients the entire yearly calendar for the Israelites in Exodus 12, 1, 2. As they prepared to finally be delivered from Egyptian bondage, God instructs Moses and Aaron, this month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year for you. A new religious calendar is established, one that will ensure the momentous event of the Exodus becomes the defining cornerstone by which the people mark time itself. Previously living as slaves with no sense of sovereign identity, the Israelites are given a profound gift, a radical recentering of their corporate consciousness. The month of their liberation resets their annual cycle. No longer will years aimlessly blend together under the harsh labor of Egyptian taskmasters. Instead, each new year will reconnect them to the epic of divine deliverance, when Yahweh demonstrated his unparalleled power and faithfulness to his covenantal promises. With this simple calendrical reset, God ensures that the Passover's rituals and memories never grow stale or forgotten amidst the relentless march of time. Annual retellings and commemorations will shape the Israelites' self-perception as a nation linearly descended from those rescued by the Almighty. Their year's beginning will echo in perpetuity. We were slaves, but our God brought us out of Egypt. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, in the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. Speak to all the congregation of Israel, saying, on the 10th of this month every man shall take for himself a lamb, according to the house of his father, a lamb for a household. In this verse, God instructs Moses to tell the Israelites that on the 10th day of the newly established first month, Nisan Abib, each household should select a spotless male lamb or young goat. This lamb will be set aside and closely examined for 4 days until the 14th of the month, when it will be slaughtered as part of the first Passover meal and sacrificial ceremony. The lamb represents the substitutionary sacrifice that will be made, with its blood put on the Israelites' doorposts to spare them from the final plague of the firstborn sons being killed. It also foreshadows Jesus as the ultimate Lamb of God, whose blood would be shed for the sins of all who place their faith in him. So this verse initiates the key symbolism and ritual instructions for the original Passover observance in Egypt. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. And if the household is too small for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of the persons. According to each man's need, you shall make your count for the lamb. This verse gives instructions for smaller households that cannot fully consume an entire Passover lamb by themselves. God tells them that if their household is too small, they should join with their closest neighboring household to share the lamb. The lamb is to be divided up proportionally according to the total number of people between the 2 households. The key point is that the entire lamb must be eaten, with no leftovers remaining after the Passover meal. Allowing smaller households to unite prevents any of the sacrificial lamb from going to waste. This promotes unity among the Israelites and ensures the Passover feast is properly observed according to God's commands. It also hints at the communal nature of their salvation. They were delivered from Egypt corporately as one people. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. God lays out the criteria for the Passover lamb each Israelite family must select. This lamb cannot be just any old lamb. It has to be an exceptional one. First off, it has to be a primo, top-notch lamb without any funky blemishes or defects. We're talking a pristine, perfect specimen here. Secondly, it's got to be a youngster, a male lamb just coming into its prime in its first year of life. None of those over-the-hill, been-around-the-block lambs will do. This has to be a lamb at the peak of its vitality and health. As for the breed, families could go with either sheep or goats for their Passover lamb. But if they preferred the goat variety, that was also an approved option per God's instructions. The bottom line is this lamb has to be a truly unblemished, youthful male animal, the cream of the crop. Because this wasn't just any ordinary lamb being brought in. This was a sacred and costly sacrificial lamb, one deserving of such an important redemptive role on that first monumental Passover night in Egypt. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. You are to keep the lamb you selected until the 14th day of this month. Then, at twilight on that day, The whole community of Israel must slaughter their lambs. Each household is to take some of the blood from their slaughtered lamb and apply it to the top and sides of the door frames of the house where they will be eating the lamb. The slaughtering of the lambs must take place at the same time in the evening on the appointed day by the entire congregation of Israel. This is critical. Do not slaughter your lamb at any other time. You must carefully follow these instructions and kill the Passover lamb simultaneously at twilight on the 14th day. The blood from these sacrificed lambs will mark your homes, allowing the Lord's judgment to pass over your families while striking down the Egyptians. And they shall take of the blood, and strike it on the two side posts, and on the upper door post of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. You shall take some of the blood from the slaughtered lambs, and apply it to the tops and sides of the door frames of the houses, where you eat the Passover meal. When I see the blood on the door frames, I will pass over that home, and the destroying plague will not afflict you when I strike the land of Egypt. The blood you put on the houses will be a sign for your protection. When I see the blood, I will pass over you, and no harm or destruction will touch you when I bring punishment and plague upon Egypt. This covering of blood over the entrance to your homes will be a safeguard, allowing my wrath against the Egyptians to pass over your families inside. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. On that same night after slaughtering the lambs, you are to eat the meat roasted over a fire. Do not eat any of the meat raw or boiled, it must be roasted whole over the flames. Along with the roasted meat of the lamb, you shall eat unleavened bread, bread made without yeast, so that it is flat. You must also eat bitter herbs along with the roasted meat and unleavened bread. You must consume all of the roasted lamb by morning, and leave nothing remaining until daybreak. If there are any leftovers of the meat by sunrise, you must burn up the remains completely. Do not keep any of it past morning. When eating this meal commemorating the Passover, you must be dressed and ready for immediate travel. Have your cloaks on, sandals on your feet, and staffs in hand. Eat the food quickly, for this is the Lord's Passover before your swift departure out of Egypt. Let there be no delaying or lingering over the meal. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. In preparing the Passover lamb, you must roast it over a fire with the whole body intact. Do not eat any of the meat raw or boiled in water. You are to roast the lamb whole, not eating it piece by piece. The head must remain attached to the body, along with the legs and inner parts. Take great caution that none of the bones are broken. This is critical. The lamb's bones must be kept unbroken, and its body remain whole throughout the roasting process. You are not to cut or divide the body apart in any way, before or during the cooking over the fire. By keeping the Passover lamb's bones unbroken while roasting it whole, this living sacrifice foreshadows the coming Messiah. Just as the lamb's body was not to be broken, so too the Messiah's bones would remain unbroken when he became the ultimate sacrifice for sin. This symbolic parallel reinforces the Passover lamb's role in God's redemptive plan, fulfilled through his unblemished Son. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. You must eat the entire Passover lamb that same night, and leave nothing remaining until morning. If any portion of the roasted meat is left over once morning arrives, you must burn up those remains completely. Do not let any of the leftovers remain after sunrise. The Passover lamb must be consumed in its entirety before daybreak, leaving no leftovers of the meat past morning. Any uneaten portions of the roasted lamb shall be gathered and burned up with fire until nothing remains. You are not permitted to keep any of the sacrificed lamb's meat past the morning after the Passover meal. Anything left over from the previous night's meal must be completely burned up and not preserved or kept for eating later. Burning up any remainders ensures none of the sacred Passover offering is treated as common bread after its ceremonial purpose is fulfilled. The entire lamb must either be consumed that night as part of the Passover feast, or any remnants must be utterly destroyed by fire in the morning. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. This is how you are to eat the Passover meal. You must be fully dressed and ready for travel, with your sandals on your feet and your staff in your hand. You are to eat in haste, for this is the Lord's Passover. When consuming the roasted lamb along with the bitter herbs and unleavened bread, do not recline or linger as you would for a relaxed meal. Instead, you must eat quickly while dressed for immediate departure. Have your cloaks on and pull your sandals onto your feet. Take your walking staffs firmly in hand as you eat standing up, ready to go at a moment's notice. This commemorative meal marks the Lord's Passover, so eat with a sense of urgency. The food is not to be eaten casually as a sit-down feast, but hurriedly while outfitted and equipped for travel. You must eat swiftly, prepared to set out as soon as the meal is finished, for I am the Lord who will lead you in exodus from Egypt this very night. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. On this night I will pass through the land of Egypt, and strike down every firstborn male, both human and animal, throughout the entire land. I will execute judgment against all the gods of Egypt. I alone am the Lord. As I pass through to bring devastation upon Egypt, the blood you have put on the doorframes of your houses will be a distinguishing mark. When I see the blood, I will pass over those homes, and no destruction will touch you when I strike the land of Egypt. This night will be observed solemnly as the Lord's Passover commemoration for all your generations to come. On this night, the firstborn sons and animals of Egypt will be slain, while those homes covered by the blood will be spared death when I pass over them. I will carry out sentence against Egypt's gods, for I am the one true Lord. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you, when I smite the land of Egypt. The blood on the houses where you celebrate the Passover meal will be a distinguishing sign for you. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. No destructive plague will touch or harm you when I strike the land of Egypt. Put the blood of the sacrificed Passover lamb on the doorframes of your homes. This blood will be a protective marker, allowing my judgment to pass over your households. I will see the blood and exempt those dwellings from the deadly plague I bring upon Egypt. The blood you apply to the tops and sides of the doorways will be a visual signal for me to pass over your families on this night. Wherever I see the blood, that home will be spared and kept safe from the devastating judgment I unleash on the Egyptians. This marking of the lamb's blood is crucial. It sets apart the Israelite homes to be passed over when I bring destruction onto Egypt. As long as the blood is present, your households will suffer no harm or affliction from the plague that falls. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. This day will be a memorial day for you, and you must celebrate it as a permanent festival to the Lord. You are to observe it for all generations as a lasting regulation. Commemorate this day annually with a sacred celebration and festival honoring the Lord your God. Do not let this momentous occasion be forgotten by your descendants. Establish it as an everlasting ordinance. Every year, you and all future generations must set apart this specific day to memorialize and rejoice over the Lord's deliverance. Make it an eternal statute, a perpetual observance to be kept among your people always. Designate this historic day as a holy festival that will endure throughout the ages. No matter where you go or how many years pass, this annual event renews the remembrance of when I redeemed you with an outstretched arm. Let this celebration be a permanent inheritance for your offspring, renewed yearly without fail. With festivities and ritual observances, continually memorialize my miraculous redemption that gained your freedom. 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. For 7 days you are to eat bread made without yeast. On the first day you must remove every trace of leaven from your homes. Those who eat anything leavened during those 7 days must be cut off and excluded from the community of Israel. From the evening of the 14th day of the first month until the evening of the 21st day, you must not have any yeasted bread or leavening agent in your houses. Ensure your homes are completely free of all leavening before this week begins. Anyone who consumes food containing leaven during this appointed 7-day period is to be expelled and ostracized from the congregation of Israel. For the duration of this festival, you must eliminate and abstain entirely from leavened bread products. On the first day, you are to perform a thorough removal and purging of leaven from your homes. Nothing made with yeast or any leavening substance is to be eaten or even allowed inside your dwellings for the span of these 7 days. And in the first day there shall be an holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. On the first day and again on the seventh day of this festival, you must hold holy assemblies and do no ordinary work. The only activity permitted on those 2 days will be the simple preparation of food. You are to gather together as a consecrated congregation on the first and the seventh days of the week-long feast of unleavened bread. These 2 days are to be set aside as sacred occasions, free from all regular labor and occupational duties. The only exception is whatever cooking and meal preparation is absolutely necessary. You may engage in that food preparation work alone on these holy assembly days. But beyond basic food provisions, no other customary work or employment is to be carried out. Treat the start and the end of this 7-day festival period as solemn times of sacred convocation. Cease from your normal efforts and responsibilities. Gather for holy purpose with your spiritual community, giving your full observance as you refrain from all but essential food preparation on these special appointed days. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. You must observe the festival of unleavened bread, for it was on this very day that I brought your hosts out from the land of Egypt. You are to celebrate this day as a permanent regulation for all future generations, wherever you may live. Carefully keep and commemorate the week-long Feast of Unleavened Bread each year. This festival marks the historic day I liberated your innumerable ancestors from their enslavement in Egypt by my mighty hand. Wherever you reside from generation to generation, this celebration must be upheld as an eternal statute among your people. Never neglect to observe this appointed festival at the prescribed time annually. On this set date, I miraculously delivered the vast multitudes of your forefathers from Egyptian bondage. In perpetual remembrance of this unparalleled redemption, you must stringently maintain the commemoration of the Unleavened Bread Festival in each new land you inhabit. Let this observance be codified as a binding regulation, renewed yearly without fail by you and all your descendants' wherever they are scattered. Celebrate with fixed observance the anniversary of the day I brought your multitudinous ranks out of Egypt by my outstretched arm.